and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, so Daniel, you're going to be closing us up with a very interesting story. So what is going on, buddy?
Okay. So we have a very interesting, positive, interesting story. The U.S. just handed back a major airfield that it's been holding for just about 20 years back to Afghanistan. We're going to get into, they didn't do the best job of handing it back, and they left a lot of chaos and some stuff got stolen, but the U.S. handed territory back effectively, even though it's not their territory, it's Afghanistan's, but whatever. Nearly 20 years after nearly 20 years, the U.S. military left Bagram Airfield, the centerpiece of its war to oust the Taliban and hunt down al-Qaeda perpetrators of the 9/11 terrorist attack on America. Two U.S. officials said Friday. One of the officials said that the U.S. top commander in Afghanistan, General Austin Miller, still retains all of the capabilities and authorities to protect the forces. Afghanistan's district administrator for Bagram, Darwash Rafi, said the American departure was done overnight without any coordination with local officials. And as a result, early Friday, dozens of local looters stormed through the unprotected gates because America's like, you don't have to do a handoff procedure. We'll just leave the gates, of there. It's like, I guess it's like now, now that it's not our airport, what are we doing protecting it? Trying to help other people. Anyway. They stormed through the unprotected gates before Afghan forces regained control. They were stopped, and some had been arrested, and the rest have been cleared from the base. Rafi told the Associated Press, adding that looters ransacked several buildings before being arrested, and the Afghan National Security and Defense Forces took control. Unfortunately, the Americans left without any coordination with the Bagram district officials or the governor's office, because, why would we? Right now, our Afghan security forces are in control both inside and outside of the base. Like, can you just imagine? I'm trying to think of some example that it's like TSA just we don't need to worry about O'Hare Airport. Anyone can come through, even though they're doing security. It's absurdly stupid that America was overnight was like, here's your airport back. Also, we're not going to do any coordination on making sure it's secure. It's yours now. We don't care about it. The deputy spokesman for the defense minister, Fawad Aman, said nothing of the early morning looting. He said the only base has been handed over, and the ANDSF will protect the base and use it to combat terrorism. The withdrawal from the airfield is the clearest indication that the last of the 2,500 to 3,500 U.S. troops have left Afghanistan and are nearing a departure months ahead of President Joe Biden's promise that they would be gone by September 11th, a poorly chosen day, but why not? Also, I just want to throw out there that just like what happened with Vietnam, the second that we leave Afghanistan, everything that we did is basically going to, this government that we've propped up through corruption and that, just like with Vietnam, the Afghans are people that have spent most of their history excising empires from their territory. We are no different. We're mostly leaving. There's a token toehold that's going to be left in Afghanistan, but most everything's going to be gone because the U.S. has to have a military base in every country on the planet to win its game of Risk. And here we are giving back an airfield and not allowing them to properly secure it before we leave. And if, again, Taliban's going to take over everything anyway, so what does it really matter in the end?
What's really crazy is that the Soviets, with twice the army, but within half of the time that we've been there, left Afghanistan. And the thing is, no one stays in Afghanistan. They're all going to leave. There's the very fact that we've been in Afghanistan now for 20 years, where you have two generations of family members who serve in the military patrolling the same patrol grounds, the same routes, the same territory. I can't think about the amount of treasury that we have lost because
$1 trillion.
Because the amount of money that we wasted in this ridiculous war looking for somebody that wasn't even in Afghanistan at all. He was in Pakistan. The whole reason why we were there in Afghanistan was to get Osama bin Laden. And when he was finally executed, we're still there.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're still in other regions all across the world. We're still stuck in these regime change wars. And you know what? The Biden administration, Joe Biden himself, said, well, we're not fully leaving Afghanistan. There's going to be some token force there. It's going to be there. And the thing is that we can never forget the Democratic and Republican lawmakers that have continued this war in Afghanistan. And we cannot forget the Republican and, yes, Democratic administrations that are still keeping us in these ridiculous war zone areas. But yet, what do we hear from these politicians? Oh, we have to intervene. We have to be there. We have to be there to protect our interests. We have to be there to protect freedom. Freedom, 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 freedom. But we just don't have the money for Medicare for all. We just don't have the money for student debt forgiveness. We don't have the money for medical debt forgiveness. We don't have money to invest into our infrastructure. We have no money to fight climate change. We have no money to really end the prison industrial complex. We have no money to make sure that every homeowner and renter is protected. We don't have any money to make sure small businesses are protected. But we just have money to bail out the banks and corporations and continue regime change wars. That's what we have money for. Afghanistan, 20 years. The amount of lives and treasury that have been lost. And future generations will look back at our lawmakers, Democrat and Republican, and wonder how they can get away with it for so long. And here's why they're getting away with it. Our silent, obedient consent. Our silent, obedient consent for allowing them to keep us in these regime change wars. There must be a general strike, and there must be a real pushback, even against lawmakers that are, quote-unquote, supposedly our allies. But if they were our damn allies, they wouldn't be tweeting out feel-good tweets. They'd actually be saying, help me organize. Help me sort up a protest. Help me do this town hall. But I'm not seeing them take that initiative. So it's up to us. It's always been up to us.